Hey everyone, welcome to VijayDevOps Academy. I'm super excited to start this journey with you because in these sessions you'll be learning about AWS and DevOps from scratch to an advanced level. Okay, it's gonna be a kind of crash course where I'll be covering everything in a fast-paced and a practical way. Okay, so in our very first session, we'll understand about what is cloud computing, why it's important, and what are the models which exist behind the scenes. Okay, so feel free to pause or take any notes if you wanted as we go through the slides. Okay, so we'll understand what is cloud computing. So it's nothing but delivery of computing services. That means if you wanted to get any kind of services like servers or storage or databases networking capabilities over the internet, that can be achieved using cloud computing. So instead of buying and maintaining the physical hardware, you can basically get those access resources on demand from cloud providers like GCP or AWS or any of the cloud platform. I mean, okay. So why it is important? Because you will not be buying actually the physical hardware. You are just deploying or using the resources which already exist over the internet. Okay. So due to that reason, it's scalability because easily scale up or down based on demand and cost effective. Pay only for what you use actually, right? So you'll not be paying upfront anything. You will be using the resources and only paying for that resources. Okay, and flexibility, access from anywhere within the internet, right? So that means it can be accessible from anywhere, not just you're no accessing physically, right? And reliability, of course, it is highly available and disaster recovery built in. So as the cloud resources are highly available, you can deploy in multiple availability zones. So if one of the availability zone goes down, then the other availability zone still can be operating and you can basically access your resources. That's what the meaning of reliability. Okay, and here are the main three cloud service models: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Okay, so we'll understand one by one. Initially we'll start with software as a service. So you can think of it's like getting any kind of service by just providing the credentials for a web page. Okay, so you pass your username and password or an email address and a password and basically access this service. Okay, so example Gmail, right, or a Google Drive or a Microsoft 365. So you just log in and use the app via the browser or a mobile, so you don't need to really worry about underlying infrastructure or or a platform or what kind of code they have used to build that particular software. So that is called software as a service. Okay, so platform as a service. So as the name itself indicates that you will be getting a platform where you deploy your resources or your applications. Okay, so behind the scenes the platform was already built. You don't need to worry really about the infrastructure. Okay, you only focus on your code and you give that code onto that platform, and platform will take care of the deployment process. Okay, so the examples like AWS Elastic Beanstalk, which is one of the primary service for deploying applications on the platform. So next we will understand about infrastructure as a service. So this basically provides a virtualized computing resources over the internet. So that means you basically provision or manage your applications data, runtime, and middleware and operating system. You're really not worried about the underlying systems like servers or storage or networking. Okay, so for example, AWS EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, or Azure Virtual Machines, or Google Compute Engine, all these are categories of infrastructure as a service. So whatever the course we are learning, AWS falls into infrastructure as a service. Okay, and here is a comparison table. You can clearly understand what are the things that basically you manage and the service provider manage. Okay, in the case of software as a service, everything will be managed by the service provider. That means the applications data, runtime, middleware, operating system, and all those details will be managed by the service provider. Okay, because you're just entering your credentials to log into the application and retrieving or basically using their services, right? You're not worrying about behind the scene what is happening, right? That is called software as a service. In the case of platform as a service, you manage your own applications and data. Remaining will be taken care by the platform provider or the service provider. Okay, so you don't need to worry about underlying runtime or a middleware or a virtualizations or any of those stuff. Okay, but in the case of infrastructure as a service, you still have a control about your application data, and you can also manage runtime, and you can also choose which operating system you wanted to deploy on a middleware. Okay, but you still basically give service provider an accessibility like related to virtualization, server storage, and networking. Okay, so these are the things which basically service provider manages. Okay, but in the case of on-site, everything managed by you, so you have to take care of everything from the scratch. Okay, applications, data, and until the networking. So people or the companies were migrating from on-site to cloud providers, right? So because they wanted to only focus on their applications and code and deployment process, not the underlying systems. Okay, so that is what the different models which exist in the cloud computing. So this brings us to the end of the session. So we understood about related to the cloud computing and its models, right? So we got to know different models like IaaS, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Okay, as this is the beginning, I'll be uploading more videos on AWS and DevOps in a very practical way. Okay, if you feel this video is useful, please like, share, and subscribe so that you won't be missing any kind of future updates. Okay, and also don't forget to comment with your update or a feedback. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next session.